Today we're going to be taking a look at early release, the pattern in the start downswing where the club speeds up too much in relation to the hands, leading to the visual of the angle between the shaft and the forearms getting wider too early into the downswing. So not a good pattern for ball striking, often leads to a lot of fat shots, thin shots, miss hits. I had a few players in recently that had a very similar movement pattern leading to that, and I shared 2 drills with them. It worked exceptionally well. That's what I want to share with you today, and I thought they might help you with your game. Thank you once again for watching. Today, as I mentioned in the intro there, we're looking at early release, the pattern where the club head speeds up too soon in relation to the hand speed, leading to that visual of the angle between the shaft and the forearms getting too wide too soon. Not good for contact. Had a few players in recently where a couple of drills really helped, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. Before we get into the video, please remember to hit subscribe if you're enjoying the content, if you haven't done already. Okay, so the pattern the 2 players had was very much a target area was very much the trail arm, and what would happen was into downswing, because they had seen they get wider in the start downswing, they would try and narrow the angle. So they would get very narrow with their arms because they saw the club head getting wider too soon. Now, really interesting how they interpreted that. It's actually not going to help the release, the arms getting closer to the body, because what actually happens is when the arms move closer to the body, as I'm showing you here, they push on the rib cage, and you can see the pattern that then starts to have from a movement standpoint with the rib cage. So the rib cage then starts to get angled this way, and it gets very on top of the lead hip, making it hard to then rotate through. So what we don't want to do is obviously get narrow with the arms. I've just shown that there. But what can we do? If we see a little bit of that early release, what can we do to stop it? So 2 things to keep in mind that we'd want to do if you see that pattern. One is you want to feel as though you're pushing the butt of the club. The force is going away for you, so you're going wider. So you might get wider between your elbow, so between your forearm and your humerus, might get wider, but the angle between the forearm and the shaft while you're doing that will stay the same. Okay, so that's one thing you'd want to do. You want to feel as though you're pushing the butt of the club away and almost down the plane towards where the golf ball would be. Okay, so that's one thing we want to do. The other thing we want to do is just make sure we have good sequence in the start downswing. So we want to make sure we're starting the downswing with the lower body. And I like to put the focus on the lead hip. So let's just use a very common reference that I have. Let's let the lead hip get over the lead heel. So to the top, we're going to push into the butt of the club, but we're going to start the downswing with good movement around the lead hip. Okay, and you can see that when I do that, the angle between the forearms and the club stays very much the same halfway through the downswing. So that's what we're looking for there. So I don't have to actually narrow my arms in towards my body. I don't have to narrow the angle between my forearm and my humerus to maintain the angle between the club shaft and the forearm. Okay, so 2 things there. The force into the shaft, push it away, push it down the plane, and then make sure you're starting the downswing with your lead hip, with your lower body, so we have good sequencing into the start of the downswing. So they're the 2 things, and there were 2 drills, as I said, that I shared with the players that really helped them to do that. The first drill is if you were to take a backswing to left arm parallel to the ground, and then from there, all I want you to do is to take your right hand and actually push the club into the mistake. So we're going to push it into release, and to stop the release, we're going to actually pull on the handle of the club. So this is going to help us, one, with the sequencing, because the pull will very much come from the lead hip, but we'll also get that sense of pushing down the plane, pushing wider with the butt of the club there into the downswing. So once again, lead arm parallel to the ground, going to push into the shaft, and I'm going to resist with my body with those 2 little keys that I've shared there in mind. So I'm pulling on the handle of the club while making sure I start the downswing with good sequence. I'm again trying to push that way with my right hand as well. So that's drill number 1. I'll show you that down the line actually. Really cool drill. Really gives you this good sensation of how both hands kind of act in the downswing, how the right hand is pushing and the left side is pulling. So that's how we're going to look there moving into the downswing. Really fun exercise. I wouldn't say you need to do any more down into the ball. Just from top of backswing to about halfway down is a good range to work on that little exercise there. So from there, once I've done a few of those reps there, man, I got a really good sense of how I need to pull from the lead side with good sequence in there, letting the hip move first. And I also feel like I got a lot of room for my arms after doing that little exercise there. So that's the first one. The second one is we're actually going to use the split grip drill to build awareness of how in the downswing, because it's very, very similar to the split grip drill, how we'd want to throw the club out there, but we're going to just do it very intuitively. So what we did with the split grip drill was essentially go to a very similar position on the way back, but then I'd get the player to stop right at the lead foot to make sure that the release on the way down with the arms and the hands matched up well with how the left side or the lead side was extending into the shot. You can see when I do that, I get a really nice little angle there with the shafted impact, but I also get my body nice and open into the shot. So two really cool drills that worked really well with the players. For me, I seem to connect a lot to the split grip drill, and instead of stopping here, I like with these, this time we're going through all the way into impact. Man, I really feel like I have to get open there with that one, so I'll do a few of those. And then I'm going to do my normal routine, get sets up, pick my target. That felt really, really nice. Felt like I got nicely open, tons of room for my arms. So you've got to give those two drills a go. If you notice yourself releasing the club too early, I'd love to get your comments if you get a chance to do so.